Hi, I just had to record this video because ever since I decided, I don't know why it took me so long. I mean, my mom was diagnosed with invasive ductal carcinoma in 2018, and it took me till 2024 to go on my own breast cancer screening journey at the age of just about to turn 53. So that's late. You know, a lot of people have had a mammogram at 50. A lot of people have mammograms at like even 45 or 40. And here I had a family history. And I just wasn't going to do it. But I finally told my doctor, I haven't had a mammogram and I don't want a mammogram. And we're all so unique. We all have our sensitivities. Anyhow, so I got the MRI scheduled for January of 2024. And ever since then, I'm just going to admit it, I've been kind of obsessed with watching people's breast cancer journeys, people's any kind of cancer journeys on YouTube. And I just came across a video of this gal's journey, and most of the people in the comments are supportive. However, they sprung it on her out of nowhere. She had had fertility preserving treatments, she'd had chemo, she'd had mastectomy, and she was on her fourth thing, radiation. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she's already in an office at the doctors, at the cancer clinic, and they're saying, okay, we're going to do your tattoos now. And she kind of freaked out because she didn't know she was going to have tattoos. And I just empathize with that so much because I was freaking out about them putting the marker in my breast after my breast biopsy. And somebody in the comments said, ooh, way to wake a mountain out of a molehill. And I just think, geez, people, if you cannot be supportive of somebody else's journey, just don't say anything at all. I think I would have felt the same way because that's what it is. I mean, the problem was she didn't know, and they were just going to do it, and they did it to her like they assumed she knew, but nobody had told her. I guess they figured we're all just going to go home and go on YouTube and we're going to learn all about the procedure ourselves, so we don't need to be told. And even if you spend hours and hours on YouTube, you might not come across somebody telling you that little detail. And that's what had happened about, well, first off, when they called and told me I needed a biopsy, they didn't even tell me I was going to have core needle biopsy instead of fine needle aspiration. And then I found out I didn't know until my appointment whether or not it was standard of care where I live to have these titanium markers. Subsequently, I said no to the markers. And the doctor doing the core needle biopsy said, okay, fine, but like if I really thought your fibroadenoma was likely to be cancerous, I'd be insisting on those markers. So that was fine. And when my doctor called with the results saying everything's benign, I thought she was kind of scolding me. She said, but we can't be sure because you didn't let him put in the markers. And I thought, well, benign is benign. What do you mean you can't be sure? When I got to read the pathology report myself, then I learned that my benign finding came back as breast tissue, not fibroadenoma at all. So what my doctor, she might have, I don't think she explained it clearly, but that's the thing. When you're stressed, you're only hearing certain things. It helps to have an appointment with somebody else there, because if you're just stressed out and a bit anxious, you might not hear exactly what is being said, or you might be misinterpreting what is being said. But I left the phone call with the impression that she was just scolding me for not having the markers. I don't recall her telling me the fact that it says benign breast tissue, like there's a word for it called peritoneum or something, because it says this in the pathology report, I don't think he biopsied the mass, which didn't make sense to me at the time. If she said, I said, yeah, because I think she said it looks like he missed it. I'm like, how could he have missed it? It's palpable. It's super palpable. I mean, like, it, especially when I'm lying down, very palpable. How could he have missed it? Now, even if I had let him put in the marker, if he's using the biopsy gun, he took 6 samples. How could he have missed it? He could have still put in a marker in the wrong spot. I mean, so he could have been biopsying over here and put a marker over there. Like, it might be palpable, but it's moving all over the place, perhaps. There's no dimple, really, that I can tell. So some of the research I've done, because like I say, I'm obsessed with watching these videos about other people's journeys. Part of the reason why I'm obsessed with watching people's journeys is because it's validation. I feel validated when I listen to somebody talking about their journey and they'll say something like, me before the fear, like before I went through this, even when they they get a diagnosis, they go through all these procedures, they beat it, they're in remission, there's no evidence of disease, they're just, they don't ever feel completely clear of it because they have to keep getting scanned, they have to keep getting checked, and that's where I'm at. I'm 3 weeks today from my next MRI, and my first MRI that started my whole breast cancer screening journey was January 26th. My next MRI is July 19th, 1 week shy of 6 months later. So there's me before cancer anxiety. There's the me that was just had my head in the sand after my mom's diagnosis and her mastectomy and her hormone endocrine therapy. I mean, she went through it. My dad's half sister died at 45 of breast cancer, and she died in 1999, and I don't know what kind of breast cancer she had. So I have a history of breast cancer paternally on my dad's side, and when my mom was diagnosed, that created a history of breast cancer maternally on my mom's side. And I have a lump in my breast that is very palpable, and I don't know, it's so hard to tell. I mean, it was 1.9 centimeters according to my MRI in January. It feels like it's gotten bigger. I get pains and, so I'm paranoid. And there was the me before all the paranoia, before the anxiety, that just had her head in the sand and wasn't getting screened regularly. For 5 years post my mom's diagnosis, I was just the person that just wasn't worried about it. For whatever reason that was, whatever coping mechanism that was just me at the time, and I honestly didn't lose any sleep. And then I decided that it was just time. And I didn't know that I was going to change into a person who had scanxiety. I didn't know I was going to find a lump. I didn't know I was going to have regular scanning post lump. And I just didn't know. And now I know. And so I empathize with anyone who's going through the next step after screening with an actual diagnosis. And it doesn't matter how small that little tattoo was. if that was the standard of care and they were saying, we're not going to use a Sharpie, we're going to actually tattoo you. It doesn't matter how small the tattoo is. She was blindsided, and it felt big and it felt overwhelming. And for anyone to comment saying, way to make a mountain out of a molehill, like, shame on you. Shame on you for commenting and judging, because that's a judgy statement. Like, it doesn't matter that you had cancer and you were fine with the tattoo. She felt blindsided, and I know that I would have felt blindsided by the titanium marker, because nobody told me about it ahead of time. Nobody even told me I was having a core needle biopsy instead of fine needle aspiration. I was not even told that they were going to order a biopsy. The ultrasound had recommended just check again in 6 months, and then out of nowhere, a supervisor took a second look at the radiology report after the bilateral ultrasound and said, no, we should biopsy it. And then post-biopsy, I find out parenchyma. I should have looked up the word ahead of time to verify, but benign breast tissue, not benign fibroadenoma tissue, meaning they don't think they jabbed the right spot, and he never put a marker in, so it's not like the MRI scan will verify that the marker is outside of the mass, the lesion. They use such horrible words for the suspected fibroadenoma, so they didn't even get to confirm it was a fibroadenoma because the biopsy results said breast tissue. And breast tissue isn't a 1.9 centimeter mass. That should have come back as, cyst, lipoma, fibroadenoma. There's a whole bunch of things that can be a mass that aren't cancerous. But breast tissue is not a mass. Breast tissue is breast tissue. And I'm glad that it was benign. But like I say, I still feel like I don't regret not having the marker, because the biopsy said benign breast tissue. So it doesn't matter if there was a marker outside of the mass. To verify he missed the mass, the fact that the biopsy report says benign breast tissue sounds like he missed the mass. And so I'm going to get the MRI 3 weeks from today, 1 week shy of 6 months from the original MRI, and then it'll take a week or two to get the results of the MRI, and I'll be able to find out if it's grown at all from 1.9 centimeters. Now, if it was a fibroadenoma, I don't know. They can fluctuate with hormone levels. I am post-menopause, I think, officially, because it's been a year since I had a period. And prior to having a period, I had actually gone 8 months without one, and then I had 3 small periods back to back. Frankly, when I weighed a little bit more, and then I lost weight, and I haven't had a period in, well, I guess it's actually just over 10 months. But like I say, I had gone 8 months without one, had 3 small ones back to back, June, July, August last year, and now it's the end of June. So August, I can say it's 12 months. So I'm getting really close. So then I could say I am officially post-menopause. But it almost feels like the 3 small ones were just maybe menopause bleeding, not actual. After having gone 8 months, I don't know. It doesn't matter. So fibroadenomas can fluctuate with hormones, but my hot flashes have actually tapered off a bit. So I feel like maybe I'm a little more stable hormone-wise, but I have no idea. I can't believe the comments that somebody would say, way to make a mountain of a molehill about this tattoo that they sprung on her. And they weren't springing it on her in an appointment where they were telling her about it. They were like, let's go into this next room and here's the tattoo gun. And it doesn't matter how small it was going to be. She didn't even know it was going to happen. No one told her. It was sprung on her. And I sympathize with that. And I'm so glad that I didn't at least have the titanium marker sprung on me, because like I say, I probably would have just left. I mean, because that would have been the straw that broke the camel's back on. And you can't judge what's going to stress somebody else out. And just shame on you who made that comment. Told her she was making a mountain out of a molehill. Plus, she also admitted that she doesn't have any tattoos. I don't have any tattoos. Yeah, it's just, anyhow. So 3 more weeks, having another MRI, breast MRI, and then the waiting game for 1 to 2 weeks to find out whether my 1.9 centimeter lesion or mass has grown at all. Now, my original MRI in January also had a 0.5 centimeter lesion in the right breast, which is why I had a bilateral ultrasound. But the ultrasound couldn't find it. So I will find out whether anything's happened in the right breast in this interim once I get the scan on July 19th and then get the results on a week to 2 after that. So, yep, I'm still watching cancer journey videos on YouTube in the meantime, because I don't know. There's something about them. I'm drawn to them. I have not been diagnosed with cancer. I have some funky things going on though, so I am with, I got some family history, and I've got a palpable lump that might be growing, who knows. I get every little pain stresses me out a little bit, and I know it's all big drama, and that's just how I feel. This is just an honest accounting of how I feel. And I was watching the video, and the comments, like YouTube does this thing where it pops up, like I never used to read the comments, but then YouTube pops up a new comment. So they catch my eye goes down, and there it was. Way to make a mountain out of a molehill. And I just thought, oh boy, shame on you for who would comment that, because you should not judge anybody else's molehill. Because I've had a few of my own. Just being on a cancer screening journey, not even being diagnosed, I'm like ratcheting up my own personal drama. I am the star of my own story, and I'm sorry about that. And I suppose if I put this video on YouTube, I am opening myself up to getting somebody to comment something. So I might not post this one, because I just want to be love and be supportive. And if I judge someone in my head, I try not to. I actually am not that judgy a person. I'm way more self-judgmental than I am of other people's journey. Like, their journey's their journey. Let them do whatever they need to do, especially if they actually have a diagnosis, which I do not. I'm being very dramatic about screening. Even just waiting to screen was me being dramatic, although it just I didn't think about it. I didn't talk about it. It wasn't on my radar for like 5 years. And then all of a sudden, I don't know, I just decided, shit. Maybe it's because menopause hit finally, and I just thought, shit, my body's changing. I should get checked. And then, I conveniently had forgotten about my dad's half-sister dying of, it's a long story. My dad was adopted, and we found his birth family. So I didn't really know her. But I think I knew at one point, once I met, because I got to meet a cousin through Ancestry DNA, and, she always treated me like family. And my dad was adopted and an only child, and my mom's brother never had children, so I like had 0 cousins growing up. So this was my first cousin, and my first, experience with having a cousin. And she was so wonderful and treated me like family, even though it was a reuniting the family through adoption records. And I guess I knew Auntie Sharon had died of breast cancer at the time when I found my first cousin, but then I just conveniently forgot. Then my mom's breast cancer diagnosis, and like I say, I just had my head in the sand for 5 years, and then I actually contacted my cousin. I said, "What did Aunt Sharon die of again?" She's like, "Breast cancer, and it's really aggressive, and blah blah blah." But we don't know. I don't know if it was ER positive, PR positive, HER2 positive, or triple negative. Like, she doesn't know either. She just said it was a very aggressive cancer, and she died at age 45 in 1999 of that cancer. And so then throughout my screening journey that I started in January, I realized, oh man, I actually have family history on both sides, and a lump, and all this drama that I'm creating somewhat. But like I say, I'm more self-judgmental of myself about my own drama than I would be of anyone else. And I don't even know how I would do. I see such strength in people fighting this disease. Oh, and I don't know if I'm this worked up about just being screened. It's my personality, and I'm not much of a fighter. So anyhow, I would have been upset too, because sometimes it's just the straw that breaks the camel's back, even if it's a small thing. And that titanium bead would have been the straw for me if I hadn't known ahead of time, and I said no to it. And even though I got admonished by the doctor, now we don't know if he missed it for sure because he didn't leave a marker. Well, he could have put the marker in the wrong spot. Like, if he missed a palpable mass, that doesn't give me much confidence for this marker being in an accurate location either. He could have biopsied all around the mass but managed to get the marker in the mass. So, I mean, that wouldn't have really told us anything. The biopsy report saying benign breast tissue, parenchyma or whatever it's called, that's way more of an indication of where he was jabbing that core needle biopsy gun than any marker could tell us. So whatever. Biggest thing is the MRI 3 weeks from now will say whether there's been any changes. We'll have the two of them to compare to, and that's in 3 weeks.